Calling this meeting to order. Please stand with us. We're going to be led in prayer tonight by Alderman Joel Gallagher. Before the prayer, I'd like for everyone to, just honor the life of a special citizen that unfortunately was murdered Sunday night in Horn Lake. It's Southaven, longtime Southaven businessman, Al Gillis. Mr. Gillis owned properties in Southaven since before incorporation, even as far back as the late 60s. He's still a property owner in Southaven, so has a long time history in the development and success of Southaven. So it's a horribly tragic event. So if y'all will, let's honor Mr. Gillis for a moment of silence, and then Alderman Gallagher will lead us in prayer. Then after that, we have a special guest that's going to help us with our Pledge of Allegiance. Miss Rain Lantrip is with the Webelos to Scouts program, and she's going to help us. So after the prayer, Rain, if you will, come forward to the podium and help lead us in the pledge. Okay? Am I looking at you? Is that you? Okay. Well, if you just have a short little step up, if you'll do that, and you're awfully brave. I would have never done that at your age, but I respect that, and we appreciate you being here tonight to do that for us. Okay? So a moment of silence first, everyone.
Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight asking for your grace and your mercy, Lord Jesus, your wisdom, Lord, that your word says that you will give to us when we ask of it, Lord Jesus. So tonight we ask you for wisdom, Lord Jesus, and we ask your blessings on this meeting, Lord. Lord, I pray that you would bless each and every person here, Lord Jesus, and Lord, also for the Gillis family, Lord Jesus. Just pray a special prayer for them. In your name we pray. Amen.
Attention.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job. Thank you. Before we move on to the first item on the agenda this evening, I do want to read, this is, we have Constitution Week coming up. Miss Britt, are you in the audience? Miss Jen, okay, we got a lot of people here, I can't see you. So I'm going to read this, and if you'll come forward and we'll do a quick photo, okay? Whereas September 17, 2023 marks the 236th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document in its memorable anniversary and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore, I, Darren Musselwhite, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Southaven, Mississippi, hereby proclaim the week of September 17 through 23, 2023 as Constitution Week. In addition, ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals that the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. First on the agenda this evening is the approval of minutes for the September 5, 2023 meeting. and the special meeting that we held on September 12, 2023.
Mayor, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Alderman Hoots, second by Alderman Jerome. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion carries. Next on our agenda, we have some special guests in the audience, and I see a lot of moms and dads that have visited as well. We thank y'all for coming to this meeting, but we have the swearing in of our new members of our Mayor's Youth Council. So like we've done in the past, we'll ask everyone to come forward at this time, and we'll do a joint swearing in of everyone at one time. So if you'll come forward at this time. Yeah, how we did this.
This works. Y'all just come on in.
Yeah, maybe everybody spread out.
Yeah, come this way, Mayor. Works.
Thank y'all for serving on the council. So we're just getting started this year, and y'all have a lot of events throughout the school year to do, so you're gonna have a lot of fun and make a difference. And before we do the swearing in, I wanna challenge you to do one thing. You know, when you get in committees or you're on teams in high school, and that's important, makes a big difference. Like when some of you, or a lot of you, I'm sure, are going to college, you'll have that on your resume. It's gonna be big for you. But I challenge you tonight to not just let it be something on your resume, make a difference, okay? Don't wait on your teammates or somebody else to step up and do something different. That's what leadership is about, is not looking around, waiting on somebody to do something, taking the ball and making something happen. So I just challenge all of you. I know in the past, y'all been a part of some beautification projects in Southaven. It makes a big difference when you do that. It makes our city more attractive. And so I challenge y'all immediately to, get some projects going, make a difference for Southaven. Don't just do something to put on your resume, okay? Y'all know what I'm talking about? So I challenge each of you to do that. So right now we'll get started. Everyone raise your right hand and repeat after me. And I can't say all your names at one time, so just insert your name here. I'm gonna say I, and then you say your name. I. So y'all say that again. Some of y'all are already whipping out. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Mississippi and obey the laws thereof, that I am not disqualified from holding the office of Mayor's Youth Council, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter. So help me God. Congratulations, and thank y'all for serving.
That will be needed. You can just put that back. We're good. Everything's signed. We're good. Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is the resolution for FY24 donations.
This resolution, as part of the budget that was approved last week, this resolution will authorize the donations for FY24 and include each statutory section of the Mississippi Code that authorizes the donations to be made as approved by the board as part of the budget process. So tonight, need authorization for the resolution and then the mayor to sign the resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for Southaven Police Department surplus property.
This resolution will authorize Southaven PD to surplus firearms in accordance with Mississippi Code 172525. We'll go to the bid process and require the firearms license as in the past. So tonight, authorization for the surplus and the bid process for the Southaven Police Department in accordance with the 172525.
I'll make that one too.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on our agenda is our task orders for our tennis center expansion.
Yeah, these task orders are required as part of the tennis expansion for 8 new outdoor tennis courts. The first task order is with Urban Arc for the design. It'll be under the master contract that has been approved previously, and this task order is pursuant to that contract in the amount of 5% of the $2.3 million estimate, so $115,000 for the design phase of the project, and then also the task order for the topo survey that will be done by Civil Link in the amount of $3,500. We can approve it at one time with the mayor's signature so that these task orders can be approved in pursuant with both their master contracts as required by previous approvals by the board. So authorization for the mayor to sign both task orders is required or is requested tonight.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Wheeler. Just to start the discussion for everyone, this is the project. When we did our parks enhancement plan that was extended by the state legislature in 2022, this was one of the items on that list that the board approved, so we're ready to move forward with that at this time. Any other discussion? And the location, this property that's just west of the current tennis center, that's in front of the maintenance shop on that hill, that's the location for the 8 courts. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on our agenda is special event permits.
There's 3. There was 2 originally. There was 1 added, so there's 3 special event permits. The first one is for the where both are located at Silo Square. The first 2 that is for November 17th, December 3rd for the Buy a Tree event at Silo, with those proceeds going to Healing Hearts. The second request is for the Christmas at Silo Square on November 9th through 11th, and the last one is Cars for Calls on September 30th at the Silo area as well. So tonight you can authorize all 3 of the special event permits as required by your revised ordinances for special events. And then in addition, for the Cars for the Calls, the May Boulevard will be shut down for a little bit for that event on the west side of Getwell. So that'll be done in accordance with Mississippi Code 21373. So tonight approval is needed for all 3 special events as set forth in your ordinances.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for liens.
This resolution just authorizes the liens for those properties that were condemned and cut in accordance with Mississippi Code 21-1911.
I'll make that motion, Mayor. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Is there anyone in the audience that has a financial interest in any of the properties? Want to speak? Hearing or seeing none, roll call please.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda are 2 final change orders for 2 projects, the Pepper Chase Road Extension and the Getwell Multi-Use Trail project.
These two final change orders, the first for Pepper Chase Drive Extension, is a deduct in the amount of $165,185.22. So it's a deductive change order. In that amount, this will be the final change order. Obviously, it's a deduct, so that will be money credited back. And then the other one is the Getwell Multi-Use Trail. It's a change order in the increase of $39,714.69. There's a resolution for that change order. That's done within the scope of the project and not outside the scope. I mean, within the scope and not done to subvert the bid laws, is what the resolution will note in accordance with 31713K. So tonight, what we could do is authorize both change orders as presented, and the resolution will reflect both. The same motion and second and vote for both.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? There's one key thing to note on the Getwell Multi-Use Trail. As y'all know, that ties into the Springfest parking lot. And there's an area in the Springfest event where the judges' tents are. And so while the contractors are already out there, they did pour some extra asphalt just to eliminate the mess at Springfest where the judges are. So that was one addition that was made. And it's done. All that's done. Okay, any other discussion on these task orders? Change orders, excuse me. Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion carries. Next on our agenda, we have a citizen request to speak. Mr. Josh Stewart, please come forward.
Hello, how y'all doing? I just wanted to come, I'll be quick. I just wanted to come and voice some concerns as far as the recreational aspect goes for some facilities.
Are you John? Are you Josh?
Yes, sir, I'm
Okay.
Josh. This is my friend Awesome Beard. He's
Okay.
part of the Horn Lake Skate Park Association.
All right,
They've been
thank y'all
working
for
together.
coming forward.
Yes, sir. They've been working together to try to expand recreational activities in the area. Got a couple statistics here that I printed out for y'all to keep with you, just on some of the good focal points that skateboarding offers the community. Southaven is a pretty large city compared to some of these others. In the back of the page, at the very back page, you can see in comparison to the population, Southaven's triple the size of some of these local areas that have skate park facilities. And we did used to have one, and it was very, very used quite often. I don't want to go over all of the statistical points on here, but I just wanted to come and share and voice my concerns with y'all to hopefully get on the future, recreational expansion towards the park. Just the first step. Like I said, I just want to voice my concerns and get with y'all and see what we can do moving forward to try to get a skate park replaced.
We appreciate that, and as I answered in the quite a few emails.
Yes, sir.
What happened with the previous skate park was not that we didn't value the skate park. It was the challenges that had happened around there. There was about 3 years that went by where we were receiving complaints from citizens that lived on Coventry Drive and Coventry Cove. And then our Parks Director was also, he's in the audit with us tonight, Wes Brown. So anyway, he was receiving calls too. We had some problems with vandalism and, malicious mischief kind of things out there. I know you've told me that you don't feel like that was the skaters, but maybe it was just some of the surrounding citizens, and we don't disagree with that. The problem and the challenge that we had and the tough decision we had to make, and by the way, about 3 years we were getting these calls because I'm just like you. If a park benefits one kid in our city, I'm all for having it open. So that's why we didn't want to close it. We hated to do that,
Yes, sir.
but it just got to the point where it got so extreme that we had to make a tough decision. With that being said, and like I've told you, we did not have the skate park in the next expansion plan. But it's something that is one of the, compared to things like we talked about tennis and some of the others, those are high ticket items. So something like a skate park is something we could possibly figure out a way to work in there and do. I know that it's frustrating sometimes when you don't see things change, but we have had many discussions about trying to find another location that would work better for the skate park. As I told you, we're not going to go duplicate a mistake. We're not going to go put it right back where it was. That makes no sense. But we're going to try to find a place that works better and try to find a way to you know, where we can have it and the skaters enjoy that without having the negatives that come with it. And so we'll continue to work on that. And there was one other thing I was going to share with you about the South Point Church. Like when we closed the other one, you know that we donated some of the equipment to the church. It's my understanding that the church still has plans to develop a community center, and that would give supervision of the skate park. And I know that's been a few years ago. We thought it was going to happen sooner as well. But when we did that, we were under the impression that the skate park was going to be added there before now. So that's why so much time has passed without that. And that's beyond our control. Obviously, we don't make the decisions for the church. But
Yes, sir.
long way to say, I hear you loud and clear. I don't know of any, and they can speak, the board, if they have anything against a skate park. I don't think anybody up here is against, they've proven that they're not against parks enhancement, as we have one of the best park systems in the United States. But it would be nice to have a skate park back. We just got to be careful where we put it.
Yes, sir. I
And
agree.
so you're well heard tonight, and we're going to keep working on trying to find a solution.
Yes, sir. I'm just trying to, what's done is done, and that's fine. I'm not trying to contest anything. I just want to, moving forward, I just want to voice our concerns, like I said.
Mhm.
Like you mentioned, I don't believe that it was the people that used the facility that would go in to face
Yeah.
their own facilities, but I also agree that that particular location wasn't the best spot and created, confrontation. We don't want to be having problems for any of the homeowners or any of the people around there.
Yeah.
We also want a safe place to go to, that way we can have our kids come there, and that's really what this is ultimately about, is just giving the next generation access to a facility that they really need. It's instilled a lot of things in our lives that we've carried on, and it's a really, really good addition to a city, and Southaven really deserves that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and
I agree, too.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate the way you presented it tonight. It was well said and well presented, so I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the time, y'all. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Next on the agenda is a resolution to clean private property.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt a resolution granting authority to clean private property as presented on this date. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion among the board? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience who has a financial interest in any of the properties who would like to speak? Hearing or seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion carries. Next on our agenda is our planning agenda. Ms. Whitney Cook is our planning director.
Yes, so our first application is a conditional use application to allow gas pumps on a 5.92 acre piece of property on the northwest corner of College Road and Getwell Road. You do have our original staff report along with the original submittal by the applicant. In that staff report, you will see the recommendation of staff and the reasons behind it to deny the gas pumps in this location. In response to that, we had 65 plus people in standing room only at the Planning Commission meeting that were also in opposition of it. And with that, with the arguments being placed in front of the Planning Commission, it was voted unanimously in favor of to deny. Last night, I did receive an email from our city attorney, and it was a further response to the staff report from the applicant's representative. And I believe I sent that to all of you this afternoon in addition to a set of responses that I have in response to those responses. I'm not going to go over the whole staff report because I think everybody has had time to read that. What I would like to do is just do a quick review of the response that I have to the additional responses. I know that the applicant's representative is in the audience and wants a chance to speak on that behalf as well. So basically, when you have a conditional use permit, there are some certain criteria that you have to meet. Traffic, health hazards, fire, things of that nature. So in advance of this, there was a lot of conversation with the applicant's representative in terms of we do not believe from a C1 zoning standpoint that it should be even allowed to be heard. C1 zoning in the city of Southaven is neighborhood commercial. According to our zoning ordinance, gas pumps are not even an option. His argument back to us was this was a PUD that was proposed and approved in 1997. It did have a blanket zoning of C1 for this particular area, and in that zoning of the DeSoto County ordinances at that time, C1 did allow for gas pumps to be a conditional use permit. With that being said, we decided we would go ahead and let him apply, just kind of be fair across the board. So first, I would like to say I do not believe it's a valid application. I think it should be voided. My opinion is that our ordinance at this time and at the time of the application submitted to the city, I think ours supersedes the 1997 ordinances. But that being said, again, you have our existing report. You see what factors we put in there that we based our denial on. However, there was some additional comments made in the response, and after further review of some of the documentation that the applicant sent us, which was identified as CED documents, that specific set of documents actually identifies fire hazard concerns that we had not previously put in that document. If you look at our original staff report, it specifically says we did not have any concerns with fire. We would like to amend that to say, actually, we do, based on their information. There's a report in there saying during a 5-year period between 2004 and 2008, National Fire Protection Association estimates that U.S. fire departments responded to an average of 5,020 fires in service or gas station properties per year. These fires caused an annual average of 2 civilian deaths, 48 civilian fire injuries, and 20 million in direct property damage. I'm not saying that every gas station is going to be an issue like this, but this is directly located in and around a subdivision. So any chance of a fire concern not only pulls into the gas station and the commercial properties itself, but it can expand beyond that into the adjacent properties. So we would like to amend that and state that we do have a concern with that as well. Also, if you will reference our city ordinance, all of this is going to be in some documentation that I will present to Andrea at the end of this comments. Title 13, Chapter 9 states that if the findings by the governing authority relative to the above subjects are that the city would benefit from the proposed use and the surrounding area would not adversely be affected, then such permits may be granted. That's basically the allowance of a governmental agency or a governing authority to deny it because of adverse effects or approve it because there weren't any adverse effects. I believe there's some confusion on behalf of the applicant that conditional use permits are granted by right. There's just some stipulations you have to meet, and that's not the case. Conditional use permits have to be proven. We can approve them, we can deny them, we can place conditions on them, but it's one step further to ensure that it is the right thing for that development. So that in and of itself shows that we do have the right as a governing authority to deny it if we see that it adversely affects the neighborhoods around it. My report, the Planning Commission, as well as the people in the audience do believe that to be an adverse effect to their property. It also states that the board has the right to place safeguards and protect the comprehensive plan and conserve and protect property and property values of that neighborhood. And again, the feel of the Planning Commission, these people felt that it would negatively affect their neighborhoods. There were other things in the CEDS reports after further review, the reports that were referenced by the applicant. Titles on reports specifically state what decreases your property values the most: gas stations, railroad tracks, hydropower, power stations, industrial areas. It goes on further to state that convenience stores and gas stations will have people driving in and out of your intersections, hanging out in the properties, buying lotto tickets, cigarettes, beers as they gas up. They do nothing to help property values and they hurt them significantly, according to Zillow.com. So this further creates a concern for me as planning staff, and should create even more concern to the neighboring properties who weren't presented with this application or with this information at the time of the application. Next, I think there is some confusion again as to us not allowing the convenience store. Nobody in this city has ever stated the convenience store can't be there. We have convenience stores and food markets all throughout this city. It does not indicate that gas pumps go along with it. So we're totally fine at this point on that 5.92 commercial acres of property that a convenience store can go there. What we're saying at this time is the addition to the gas pumps as a conditional use to that is not conducive to that area. As of today, there's not even a site plan approved. There was a mention of the site plan application. The Planning Commission in 2018 looked at the site plan. There were a lot of revisions to be done. There were a lot of additional information we asked for them to gather and provide to us. It was never provided to us, so after 3 consecutive planning commissions of no further response, it was denied. So as of right now, you're 5 years in by the applicant's own doing, not by us, we have not delayed it, that there's nothing on the books planned. So referencing a site plan, referencing a convenience store with a gas pump, we don't have any of that. And additionally, the assumption by the applicant that showing the gas pumps on the site plan somewhat gives an informal approval to the owner, that's not realistic. Due diligence is the owner's responsibility, not the city's responsibility. So it's not up to us to inform them after they've submitted that, oh, by the way, you can't have this. 95% of the people who come and talk to my office come in prelude to purchasing a piece of property. So somebody will come in and say, hey, look, I'm looking at this 10 acres right here. Here's what I got in mind. Can I do that? Before this property was purchased for the intentions of a gas station, convenience store, whatever, nobody ever contacted my office. I never spoke to anybody to inform them one way or the other. So due diligence is their responsibility, not ours. The applicant keeps assuming, again, that the site design gives that allowance. He references providing the engineering consultants the documentation of the site plan that was never approved. And he feels that the expansion of the road and where they were going to put their access points and things like that somewhat gave them an approval. And it also gave them the allowance to not submit a traffic study. That traffic study was a requirement by the Planning Commission, not by my office, not by the engineering consultants. It did not give them a green light to move forward without it, and that requirement was never met. The reason why I was asked for is because if you have any knowledge of development and how quick service restaurants and gas stations are put together, they are the highest traffic yielding uses you can put on a corner or on a main thoroughfare. So you have to be leery of where the access points are, where they're located, how they're going to go in and out. You know, College Road is a 2-lane road with no curb, no gutter. We had to determine if that was even going to sustain the access and the entrance and the exiting of that piece of property. We never received any of that documentation, but it is noted in the Institute of Transportation Engineers and several other engineering transportation books that besides a quick service restaurant, a drive-through restaurant, your gas stations are your biggest traffic generators. Again, I state it again because it was stated over and over again in the responses. We don't have a problem with the convenience store. We don't have a problem with the local market. So they're not treated the same as a gas station. Those are two different uses, and they're not one and the same. So we feel like we've conducted the conditional use per their request. We looked at it on a fair basis. We look at every conditional use on a case-by-case basis. We don't approve all of them. Neither does this board. We don't recommend approval for all of them. After review of the conditional use that I still feel like was not warranted because our C1 doesn't allow it, we still feel like denial's in place. It doesn't coincide with our comprehensive plan. It does create concerns for the neighboring properties. It does create fire concerns now, traffic congestion concerns. So here we are. The final comment I'll say, and you should see his responses on here, the applicant feels like the delay of this project is going to cause harm to him financially and feels like it's our fault for delaying the project. Again, I will make note that they submitted in 2018. We have not heard from them since then. That was not a delay on our side. That was a pop in 5 years later and say, hey, I want gas pumps. That is not a delay on the city. So any delay financially or hurting financially was not on the city. So we would disagree with that. Finally, he kept referencing PUDs in that area that allowed for it and that they had blanket zoning and this was no different. I want to assure you that Snowden Grove, Roseberry, and Cherry Tree Park, which are all where the gas stations are located, up and down Getwell Road, mind you, we have 2 in place and 2 proposed in 2 miles, 4 gas stations in 2 miles. Every one of those PUD tags didn't do a blanket zoning. It didn't say C1 or C4. It specifically itemized out every single use that was allowed in that PUD. I've got it on record right here. I'm going to submit it to Andrea so you have it. Every one of those said permitted by right gas station with or without pumps. At that point in time, we take that. We accept it and we make the best of the situation, which is why you see one going right now at Church and Getwell. It was in the Snowden Grove PUD since 2005. Additionally, I've got a submittal for the DeSoto County zoning 1973 as well as the 2023. All of that still require conditional use to have gas pumps, so nothing has changed. We did honor the DeSoto County zoning per their request. I'm also going to submit to you a list of the attendees in opposition to the gas station that was at the Planning Commission. Right now you're sitting at 65, and those are only the ones that actually put their names down, and the ones that couldn't show up, we're closing in on about 120. Finally, I will submit to you both the Southaven Code and Ordinances, Title 13, Chapter 13.9, which itemizes out the allowances of conditional uses and what has to be taken into account when you're approving them, as well as the Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation manual, which will show essentially that this is a extremely high yielding traffic use and it should be warranted for concern on a corner like that. Again, like I said, I know that Ben is in the audience. He is representing the applicant. I do want to make note that our comprehensive plan is on, it's on file with our city clerk's office. And I do want to make note that I am giving all of this information over to Andrea, so it will be a public record. I'm open for any questions. I know Ben's in the audience and probably wants to respond, but that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you, Whitney. Go ahead.
So you're saying that you're okay with them putting the convenience store, it's
Correct.
just the pumps, right?
Correct.
So
There's a
what-
difference in even the traffic generation models
Okay,
between
that's
the
what
two.
I wanted to ask you. What's the difference in a convenience store without pumps and?
A convenient, you could look, Walgreens could be considered a
What I'm
convenience
saying
store.
is, as far as traffic is concerned, what's the difference? Do you have any idea?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's essential to, Walgreens is considered the convenience stores as well. By definition,
Same thing as that Rite Aid, where the guy was gonna put it in a grocery store. That's a convenience store.
it's the traffic and the gas pumps. It's the gas station portion
I'm
of it.
just
Excuse me just a minute if we can, so we can make sure everyone is heard. If everyone will not speak out, we're gonna have order in the meeting. Everyone will get a chance to speak. So if we can go one at a time, everybody can hear what's being said. I can give you, I'm not a professional planner, I can give you a more common person. What she's saying is a convenience store is a description of it's a technical term to describe a lot of different businesses. She doesn't mean necessarily a convenience store like the normal person would see it. Like she said, a Walgreens, according to
considered.
planning terms, even a Walgreens would be considered a convenience store.
Correct.
So that's the difference in, when you talk about pumps and no pumps, you don't see gas pumps at a Walgreens.
Correct. And I think this board will note, there have been several that have come in front of us that want to do local markets, the Mediterranean market, the market over here that's underway right now. Those are convenience stores without gas pumps. So one of the arguments that came in front of the Planning Commission is there's no such thing. Those don't work. That prototype doesn't fit, and I disagree with that. We have several on the books and underway right now, and our studies and these people who are doing these studies show it does work here. So it's not an impossible use of the property. And one other point I would make, this is commercial property on a prime corner on Getwell Road. We're not killing any sale of this property. There's 6 acres of prime commercial property, and there's several things that can be done on this property. So I do know by their own comments, the sole reason they bought this property was for a gas station. It's not like it can't be resold. If that's the only reason you got it and you can't do that, the sale of this property would happen quickly. I mean, it's a valuable piece of property on one of the biggest intersections we're going to have going down towards 269. So,
Well, and the widening of, the current widening project is going to rework the entire intersection, which is going to make it even more
with the
appealing.
pedestrians, right. So, I don't believe it is going to be at a detriment or at a loss to the property owner.
Mr. Smith, did you want to speak?
Yes, I do.
Let's let Mr. Smith speak first, and then if anyone else in the audience, if you want to speak, you'll be given the opportunity to speak if you'd like.
Mayor and Board, I'm Ben Smith, 2700 Stonebrook, Southaven. I am the representative of the applicant, which is M&N Properties, Inc. They've owned this piece of property for several years. They purchased the entire 5.92 acres. They just did not purchase just the corner where the C-store and hopefully the gas station will be at that corner. They own the whole 5.92 acres of property. There's some things that I'm glad to know that up to this point, I was not sure that a convenience store was approved. There's nothing that I've read that you put out that a convenience store is approved. I thought we couldn't even put a convenience store there. Our whole argument is that the 1997, the Board of Supervisors approved the zoning. They had a public hearing just like we're having here and had people there. And they voted unanimously to approve that PUD that's called Dickens Place. I did it in 1997. And she's correct, and in my handout to you, hopefully you have, the county ordinance at that time said that the preliminary plan for a PUD will be what governs the development of that property. Now, you annexed that property, but when you annexed it, you also took the zoning in that was on that piece of property when you annexed it. So it's our stand here, and mine, and I'm not a lawyer, is that the PUD documents governs how that piece of property can be developed. That was approved by the Board of Supervisors in 1997. The applicant cannot change it. People that live in that area cannot change that. We think the city cannot change that without having a public hearing and go through the process. If the owner wanted to change it, he has to make an application, have public hearing. So we're saying that is really a contract that ensures that no one can change the way that piece of property is going to be governed.
Well, I can say, we gave up on that, we refuted that. Your C1 right there, the blanket, we've honored your PUD. Your C1 documentation
Well,
for the zoning.
Whitney, what I'm
DeSoto
saying
County
is-
still requires a conditional use permit back then.
Yeah.
So we honored that and went through the conditional use permit with you.
Well, just for everybody, well, the board especially, since you're the ones that are gonna be making a decision tonight, Nick, would you please explain, because I know this Board of Aldermen, I'm speaking for them, but I know that they wanna know, we wanna do what's legal and what's right. So what Mr. Smith is suggesting is that this was a contract from 1997 that allowed this. Whitney's indicating that the PUD does not allow gas pumps.
Well-
So would you clarify that legally for the board?
Yeah, what I think's being said is two things. One is Whitney's, from the city's perspective, the argument is, hey, the C1, under our 2018 amendment to our ordinance for a gas station, a C1 is not allowed our gas station is not allowed by conditional use under a C1 zoning. However, that's the city's first position. However, to Mr. Smith's point, what the planning staff did was state, be that as it may, that's the city's first argument, that's not allowed, but for argument's sake, and be that as it may, let's still run the analysis based on the 1997 PUD text, as Mr. Smith notes,
Right.
under a CUP analysis.
Even though our C1 didn't allow for
For
it,
the C1 under
we
a
honored the
conditional use.
county's
So what
zoning.
was done by the planning staff and the planning commission was also run that first saying this is not allowed, we don't think it's valid, but even if it is valid, under a C1 analysis, under a 1997 PUD text, that analysis run through the CUP requirements, it still fails based on those requirements. So
Correct.
I think what's being done is it's still being run, it's still being analyzed as Mr. Smith is requesting, it's just being analyzed for denial by the planning staff and not as an acceptance. So that's
Correct.
what it comes down to. So it's agreeing with, it's taking Mr. Smith's argument and saying, okay, even if your argument's right, under the C1 zoning in 1997, let's say we stipulate to that, it still would not get a conditional use permit based on the factors that were set forth in our conditional use
It still
ordinance. Is that
required the
accurate
hearing
how
for a
I'm describing
condition, yeah.
that?
The C1 requirements for DeSoto County back in 1997 still required you to go through a conditional use permit. Ours says you don't get one. That zoning ordinance did, so we honored that and went through, just like we would any other conditional use permit. We're just saying that the conditional use permit we're not granting because it doesn't meet the standards that we're looking at in our points throughout the staff report. So we honored that request.
Okay, I think we all agree the convenience store can be, is a permitted use on that corner. The only question is, will fuel pumps be allowed
Correct.
at that convenience store? And I'll take that position and go forward that, from that point. If I could, there was some talk about traffic congestion. The Community Environmental Defense Services, this is in, and I'm gonna make this part of the record, is a outfit that you hire if you want to hire a outside gunman to come in and try to shoot down the argument of somebody to place a convenience store or a gas station. You hire these people, and they have produced a document that says how you can get a gas station not approved. And I'm gonna be using a lot of stuff out of that report, and it's called CEDS. Each fueling position generates 100 to 130 trips per day. We have 5. The convenience store will generate 800 to 1,200 trips per day per 1,000 square feet. So the convenience store, if it's 9,000 square feet, it's going to generate 9,000 trips a day without the gas pumps. Each fueling position is 100 to 130 trips per day, and there's 5 fueling positions, so the gas pumps will produce 650 trips per day to the gas pump. So you have 650 of the gas pumps, and according to them, 800 to 1,200 for the convenience store itself. So less than half of the trips to a gas station is for the fueling. More of it is for the convenience store itself. Most of those trips, most will result from those who would be passing by the gas station anyway. In other words, a typical gas station does not add to the volume of the traffic on a given road, was their conclusion. The only exception to that rule is a large, such as a Buc-ee's or something on that order, or Walmart. Those statistics do not apply. But in our particular case, it doesn't. Fire hydrants, she mentioned, fire hazards. She mentions that using the same data that they had according to CEDS, the number of convenience stores in the United States have been declining. They were 202,000 in 1994, and it's only 140,000 now nationwide. Using this data, the chance of a fire incident occurring per store is once every 33 years. So the probability of having a fire at a convenience store is 1 in every 33 years, according to this data. Remember, please note that the average only 3 deaths occur each year nationwide from a fire at a convenience store, at a gas station. The presence of a potential fire hazard has not caused a gas station location to be denied by the city of Southaven in the past. I've not had this discussed before. I've been around some of these meetings. I've never heard this discussed before. That impossible fire hazard when you approve a service station. There's also 12-inch water main available there and fire hydrants available there. So there's no lack of water to fight a fire if it's there. The Soda County Supervisors in 1997 had a public hearing, and by their vote, their vote indicated that they did not think in 1997 that this would have an adverse effect on the neighborhood. It was a unanimous vote. I've also, I think you mentioned, excuse me, go through here, property values. I did a study in Roseberry subdivision. There's not information available on how much a house sells for. You cannot go on the website and find out how much a house sells for. But you can go on the website and see what property values, appraisal values are. So I took Roseberry. By the way, Roseberry is very unique. It has a service station. It's not on the corner, but it's off the corner, and there's 3 houses that back up. Their backyard is right touching the fire station. Service station at Roseberry. So what I did, I took and went through the whole community of Roseberry and looked at the appraisal value per square foot of homes in Roseberry and compared that to the county's appraisal per square foot of heated area for those 3 houses that back up to the service station. I found that it was very, very minor either way, one or the other way. So far as the county is concerned, there's no difference. They don't treat the appraisal of a house next to a service station any different than they do one that's back in the subdivision. Matter of fact, their square footage appraisal for houses in Roseberry were the same for all the houses per square foot. Like I say, I don't know what houses sell for. I cannot get that information. I do know this, I've lived here since in the 60s, that we have experienced a rising appraisal of houses. Personally, I don't know of any house that's dropped in value. So if there's an argument we're gonna lose property value, that's not the case in Southaven, maybe somewhere else, but here, it's not. I'm willing to say if you have a house that backed up to a service station, you put your house on the market, you probably gonna get 4 or 5 offers, just like another house in the neighborhood. That's the way it is in Southaven. So my opinion, there's no adverse effect to your house being close to a service station. By the way, I also measured how far it is. Y'all excuse me while I find this, please. Yes, here it is. This is the site plan, by the way. That's I don't know if we had it on the screen or not. But I measured from the pumps to 2985 Glenberry, which to the north, which that's the nearest house. From the pump to the back door of that house is 405 feet. If you go to the west from the nearest fuel station to 44 Shawshay Cove, y'all, excuse me for my pronunciation, but that distance is 470 feet. If you go to the first house on College Road, if you turn on College Road going west, the first house, which is 2905 College Road, the distance to that from the fuel pump is 430 feet. If you go to the nearest house going east on College Road, the distance from the fuel pump to that house, front door, is 630 feet. So don't get in your mind that we got a service station here backing up to the back door or the backyard of houses. The minimum distance is 405 feet to the nearest back door of a house. And according to the site plan, if it develops just like the site plan, which the applicant says he will do, there is retail buildings between the fuel pumps and the backyards of the people, especially to the north. So this is not a case of you going to approve a service station next to houses. Now, you've done it before, like in Roseberry, you approved one, the house backed up to there. Also, you have approved pretty well at a mile interval, convenience stores almost every section corner in this part of Southaven. I have a map which I provided.
Yeah, I think just so we can kind of speed up, and I respect your comments, and I think everyone up here knows that area of Southaven. We're familiar. We know what's on the corners, what's developed, the residential neighborhoods. That's Ward 6. Alderman Flores obviously knows that ward backwards and forwards. I know it. I'm the mayor. I know the city, so we're familiar with that. So we're hearing your point. I mean, you're making your point, but we do need to move on. Is there? I don't want to cut you off though. Is there anything else in your presentation that you would like to say?
I remember fire. She mentioned property values, delay, and traffic. I think I've covered it.
Your property values is a big thing.
You got any questions to ask?
Anybody got any questions for Mr. Smith?
And if I could really just add just a couple things. All the documentation on the property values and the fire congestion or the fire concerns came from documents that you brought in and referenced. So I just pulled that information from the documents, the CEDS documents that he referenced in his application. And in the documentation I've given to Andrea, you do have some traffic generation reports from the Transportation Engineering's manual that will show a very high yield for convenience stores. I think you can usually find information on both sides of whatever side of the argument you're on. I've been at this city for 22 years doing planning. I can tell you it's a high yielding traffic concern for a gas station, no matter what anybody's report said. But this is from the Transportation Engineering's handbook. It is in the documentation that I gave Andrea for your review. So.
Yeah, and it's like some of the other things, and again, I'm not a professional planner, I'm a common citizen, but I can tell you that there's a place for everything in our city. That's the whole purpose of having zoning laws, but everything is not the same. There are different factors that come into play, and I think we have some people in the audience that will explain that, but nobody's, or I don't think anybody, I know that in our operation, when we consider an application, you know, we listen fairly to all of it. However, every situation is not exactly the same. You know, you can have too much of one thing that cannot be good for a city. So there are different factors, but obviously we're not against convenience stores. As you stated, we have them in the city, but it is an issue regarding property values and even crime, the number of them that you have and where they're located. So I think that's the main concern there. But you stated your point well. I think the board has
Mayor,
adequate
can I-
information here. As I promised, though, I did promise to allow someone to speak, and you'll finish up, and then someone else, if you want to come forward, come up, state your name, and verify you do live in Southaven, and then we'll welcome your comments.
You want me to come back later or make?
No, if you have anything else to say, I want to give you a fair
You,
opportunity to say
yeah,
it.
You brought up crime. I'd like to point out a very interesting statistic, and let me find it here. And by the way, this statistic is not from the CEDs that I mentioned before. This information I gathered from the FBI. The FBI produces yearly a Federal Bureau of Investigation violent crime data using the National Incident-Based Reporting System, NIBRS, reported that 20,108 incidents occurred at C-stores in 2020, and 11,795 occurred at C-store gas stations. FBI ranking of locations where violent crime occurred showed convenience stores to be number 4. By the way, your home is number 1, the streets number 2, parking lots like Walgreens, Dollar General is number 3. Number 4 is as far as violent crimes is a convenience store. However, number 7 is gas stations. And matter of fact, the rate that for violent crime at gas stations is half the crime rate for a convenience store. For instance, stores with gas pumps, sometimes referred to as convenience gas stations, are less likely to be robbed. This is the FBI report. Less likely to be robbed than stores without pumps. Using government statistics and published studies, this site will probably have less crime if a fuel island is present. The store will not be a 24-hour location. Will agree to be reasonable. Will have reasonable store hours to deter crime happenings. So, if you want to cut the crime rate average in half, approve fuel pumps for this site.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Is there someone else who would like to speak? I know some people have spoke. Would you like to step forward and again, identify that you do indeed live in Southaven? Okay.
My name is Barbara Green, and I live in Southaven. I've been living in Southaven for 23 years. I was living in Memphis at first. And
Would you pull the mic a little closer?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
That's better.
Okay, sorry. Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Green, and I've been living in Southaven for 23 years, and I'm originally from Memphis. And when I first moved to Southaven, I was looking for, a neighborhood that is low in crime, safe for kids. And that's why I decided to have a house built in Dickens Place. And the last 23 years, it's been safe, no crime, not a lot of traffic going through. And I feel like if a convenience store or service station, anything like that, it would bring all of that there. And as far as his comment about Roseberry, that's a different neighborhood. Diggins Place has custom houses, bigger square footage, and it would bring our value down. Would any of you want a convenience store or a service station built in front of your neighborhood? I don't think so.
Okay.
And the last meeting, he stated that if we always gave the citizen what they want, nothing would be built. This is our neighborhood. This is our community. This is where we live. This is where we raise our kids. We don't want a convenience store. We don't want a service station. We wanted to stay quiet, no crime, and not a lot of traffic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is anyone else who would like to speak? please keep comments. We do have to move on with city business, so please be direct and quick with your comments.
Hello, I'm Nicole Mikesell, 2865 College Road, which would be the third house on College, which means my front yard would be right in the gas station. We have all the water that is on that entire lot goes through my yard, and I'm very worried about water. I'm worried about people going through my yard. I'm worried about light pollution, noise pollution. I'm a real estate agent. I know what happens to property values. It's going to kill all of our property values. We live in Dickens Place because, like she said, we have nicer homes, we have nice property, we have square footage, and we have lots that are a good, decent size, and we would like to keep it nice. It's a nice neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for coming forward. Anyone else want to speak?
Debbie Kobe. I've lived in Dickens Place for 16 years. And I just want to say the difference between Roseberry, what Mr. Ben was talking about, is the back of 3 houses. We're talking about putting a gas station at the mouth of the neighborhood. I think there's a little bit different. So,
Thank you for your comments. Okay, so Whitney, are there any final comments? What was the what happened in the planning? What was the decision in the planning meeting?
It was a unanimous decision to deny the conditional use permit.
Okay.
But on the Roseberry thing, what's the difference?
Oh, well, and like I said before, and you'll see in the documentation there, Roseberry, which was approved in 2000, itemized out every use that was allowed in that area. So did Snowden Grove, so did Cherry Tree. It wasn't just, this is C1 area, this is C4 area. It went line by line and said, retail boutiques are allowed here, car washes isn't allowed here. They went through every use and said yes or no to them. So the difference between Dickens Place here and those PUDs that I referenced and that Andrea has in her hands is those are an itemized list of what's permitted by right and what's not. This was just a C1 blanket zoning for that corner. So that's going to be your difference there. They're not one and the same.
Okay. So at this point, are there any other questions from the board to Whitney or anyone else? Are we ready to vote?
I have a quick question. On this drawing of the area, it shows the gas station and I guess some retail shops behind it.
That was denied. We don't have
Okay.
a record, a site plan on record. So we're
Well,
not referencing
my question
that.
was going to be did they do that to hide the gas station or?
It's a lot of acreage. Gas stations always want the hard corner. So, and that only takes up maybe an acre of the property. So if you bought all 5.92 acres, you're sitting there with essentially 5 acres left. You got to do something with it. So I know the original proposal that we ended up denying in the end was a broken up strip center area. It was 3 tenant
I
buildings.
don't recall seeing that, so
Yeah.
that's why I asked.
Yeah, no, it was denied in 2018 by the Planning Commission.
So are we voting on just the
It is
gas
solely
pumps?
for the conditional use to allow gas pumps on a hypothetical gas station.
Actually, a motion has not been
Actually,
made
the
yet.
motion hadn't
No,
been
no,
made
we,
yet.
we are. I know, y'all.
Yeah, that's
We're
what
going
the
to get
item
to
is in
that. I'm
front
just
of you.
trying to make sure everybody gets a fair chance to speak. So if y'all will, if anyone else has any other questions, do that. Then we'll ask for a motion. Does anyone have any other questions for anyone? Okay, is there a motion? The issue is, are you approving the conditional use permit for the gas pumps or not? So will someone make a motion and tell us what your motion is?
I will make a motion, Mr. Mayor, to deny the conditional use application that was presented here tonight.
Okay, we have a motion to deny by Alderman
I'll
Flores.
second.
There's a second by Alderman Payne. Is there any other follow-up discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Item 2, Whitney.
Item number 2, we have an application for a conditional use permit to allow a full-service spa at 362 State Line Road. As you're aware, we have a 2 per half-mile radius rule for full-service spas. In looking at the submittal she provided to us, it all has to do with nail and nail accessories. So we have changed her to a nail salon, so that would not stop another full-service spa from coming in if they do meet that criteria. She was voted unanimously in favor of for a nail spa for a conditional use for a 1-year conditional use to be renewed every 4 years.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve item number 2 on the planning agenda as presented this night.
Second.
On item 2, we have a motion by Alderman Kelly, second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Our final application is for a conditional use permit to allow motor vehicle repair and towing at 1931 Veterans Drive. It is an existing site. It has secured access gating to it. As you'll see up there, it has a two-story office building what the applicant is going to renovate and use for customer service and office space. It does have a 4-bay motor vehicle repair shop already located in the back and paved area. We did put conditions on it that it would all be like I said, renovated. We will make it site-proof along the roadway and protect the rear from any additional screening that it needs to have, and that all towed vehicles have got to be behind the screened area and on the hard surface. They did agree to that, and they were voted unanimously in favor of for a conditional use permit for 1 year and then a 4-year extension.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
On item 3, we have a motion by Alderman Hoots, second by Alderman Jerome. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on our agenda is our mayor's report. Just a few quick updates for you. Just our Bank Plus Amphitheater concert season has gone well. We had one of our biggest events in the city this past Sunday night with Brantley Gilbert and Nickelback. We had a sold-out show. It was, the things that we envisioned when we started talking, 7-8 years ago about creating an entertainment district and making it super special is coming to fruition. When you look at everything, you have that many people at the concert. We're moving pedestrian traffic on the new trails. We talked about the Get Well Trail tonight. Those trails have allowed the police to separate the pedestrian traffic and the vehicle traffic to allow people to move traffic to move out of there more efficiently. The pedestrians crossing the bridge, staying on the trails, keeps them out of the streets, makes it safer. It was just amazing to me. I witnessed it. I normally don't go to concerts, but I did go just to lay eyes on it. And it was amazing afterwards. I just kind of watched to see all the flows, and I had a lot of people using the trails, and it allowed us to clear the area out much quicker. But it was a successful evening, packed house. Obviously, the city will do financially well with that concert. Our Fall Street resurfacing will start, obviously, October 1 is the next budget year. Like we try to do every year, the weather in October is perfect in this area, part of the country, and it's perfect for street paving. So we're going to try to get that list to Lehman Robertson, get a head start in October on our FY24 list before the weather gets bad. So we'll try to get as many as we can get done in October. And then, of course, they won't start again until the weather gets better, which is usually sometime in February. Tomorrow, we're doing, I know y'all heard me talk about the I-55 widening project that we've talked about and pleaded for, I know every day of my 10-year career, that's been at the top of the list. And, been to D.C. multiple times to talk to United States senators and Congress people, and then, at the state capitol in Jackson, trying to plead with them to understand the significance of DeSoto County and not only what we've already accomplished economically, but we have great future potential. I mean, Southaven still is untapped in like that Church Road I-55 area, but it's being hampered by the interstate system. I mean, and this is not just a theory. I mean, I've talked to business owners, and they ask me, they're in commercial brokers. They're like, what is the status of the widening project? We got people that want to come, but they can't do business there until the traffic infrastructure is improved. So we have a tour tomorrow. We have legislators from around the state. We have MDOT key officials that are coming to Southaven. We're all going to get on a bus, and we're going to go start in Southaven. We're going to go north into Tennessee, turn around, and let everybody get the full effect. You can try to explain a picture, but you just can never do it justice until you lay eyes on it and see what it looks like. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into Tennessee on the bus. We're going to come south. You got 10 lanes in Tennessee, and then when we get right past State Line Road, we're going to see it go down to 4 lanes, and just so they can understand the magnitude of the problem. Now, somebody jokingly said maybe we could have a wreck just to really show them. So we're not going to wish that, but I would say the chances are pretty good for us. So we may not have to stage it. It may
When you
naturally.
cross that little bridge.
Huh?
When you cross that little bridge on the
Horn Lake
south
Creek?
side. Yep.
Yeah, no doubt. So anyway, that could happen, and if we were fortunate enough to have them here still at 4 o'clock, you know, we could let them all stand on the Goodman Road Bridge and look south, and you don't need to say anything, you know.
Right.
So anyway, it speaks a lot that we are finally getting the ears of some key people for them to come from their homes up to Southaven, get on the bus, and take the tour. We can show it to them. I think it's going to be productive for us. So anyway, we're going to do that tomorrow. And that's all I have under the mayor's report. Next on our agenda is our personnel docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the personnel docket as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Yeah, that motion carries. Next on our agenda is our city attorney's legal update. Mr. Nick Manley again.
Yes, sir. Just a couple of quick items. First, just report in the minutes that the money that was for the Horn Lake Creek Interceptor Sewer District that has been approved, $3 million of ARPA money, will be transferred this week. No action, just noting that's going to be in our minutes since you've already approved that transaction in the past. Also, we need to get a variance for an event, Snowden House, for an event, alcohol variance. I'm going to look my notes up there. It's for an event for Tate Reeves. They're going through the normal rental process like everyone else would have to, authorize alcohol variance for that event.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Yeah. And the last thing I have is since we're an outside firm, Butler Snow, we have to be appointed yearly. So authorization to reappoint.
I'll
the
make
firm.
that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion?
Did you put a raise in it for me?
No. Same
Too late.
contract as the last couple
Too
of
late.
years. So, yeah.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Alderman Flores.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on our agenda is our utilities billing leak adjustment docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the utility bill leak adjustment docket as presented on this date.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Jerome. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on our agenda are two claims dockets.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve claims docket number 1 in the amount of $3,668,168.64, including demand checks.
Second.
On docket 1, we have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Is there a motion to approve docket 2?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve docket number 2 in the amount of $18,887.22.
Second.
On docket 2, we have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on our agenda is the purpose of determining the need for executive session.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Jerome. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The need this evening is potential litigation and real litigation discussions with our city attorney per Mississippi state law, economic development within the city, personnel in the Southaven Police Department, and interdepartmental personnel with no action. So is there a motion to declare executive session?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Hoots, second by Alderman Jerome. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The mayor and board will now enter executive session.